Kara.
Good morning.
Kara, I always say the best person to have twins is a mother of twins. This is my mantra that I have been going on because I think about all the experience that twin parents get, and then we don't get to use any of it ever again, but you did.
Yeah.
Kara,
Round two.
the people don't realize how it actually is much more common than I think people anticipate, right? So one of my favorite hashtags on Insta is twins twice, so that you could see everybody. So you had your first set of twinnies when? Like, how far apart are your duos?
They are 22 months apart. So at one point we had, for about 2 months, just shy of 2 months, we had 4 under 2, which that was a wild ride. Wild ride.
So was this all spontaneous? Was this meticulously planned? What did you think your motherhood journey was going to be like?
Not 2 sets of twins. Never thought we were going to have 1 set of twins, let alone 2. So I have PCOS. And so we knew a pretty significant case of PCOS that we had to do Clomid, we had to do Letrozole. So we did hormone treatments. So we knew, okay, increased risk of twins is a little bit higher, but you're always like, oh, we'll be fine. It won't be. We won't have the twins. That's other people. And we had to do it with both sets. And like the second time, we're like, we can do one more. What's one more? We could do one more. We could do 2. We had 2 more. We didn't plan on 2 more. We had 2 more. So we're like, we'll play the odds. What are the odds? Like, we will be the one in whatever. We were the one.
Surprise. How did you deal with car seats?
So we had to get a new car. The minute, like, I remember our ultrasound where we found out we were having the second set of twins. And like, you prepare, like you have twins once, you prepare for it. We could get told we're having twins. It's highly unlikely, but we could get told, like, you prepare yourself. But my first initial reaction was like, what are we going to drive? So we had to immediately get a new car. We got a Kia Carnival. And so our now 4-year-olds are in the back row and then in convertible car seats. And then when the babies, our second set was born, we had them in the middle row.
Okay.
And then we have those like right next to each other. So there's a little, but it took a lot of playing around and configuring. That was my biggest panic.
The car is very appropriately named.
We are a carnival.
Yes.
Yeah. We
Traveling
are a circus on wheels.
We're doing it
everywhere we go. Yeah. I'm like, if I need this daily reminder of the circus we constantly are. Like, really? We had to name it the carnival?
I love it. I'm a Kia family too. So, but I knew about the carnival and I'm like, that's cruel because every family that's ever going to be in there is a traveling circus.
Who named it is someone who doesn't have kids. Come on,
sister.
Come on.
Is the story. But there's a million names like that.
Right.
But today, although we will leave our car discussion because I always think it's most interesting to see what big families drive. We're talking about postpartum care and just the whole after delivery situation.
After that.
So give us a little bit about your postpartum situation, your first round, and then the mistakes that you made, the things you've learned, and what you did different the second time around.
Once I found out we were having twins, I'm like, okay, we're reading the books, we're doing the things, but never did I read about taking care of you after deliveries. And so I was a rude awakening for me, it felt like, of this is not what I thought this was going to be in terms of, okay, I read up, how do we take care of these babies? How do we keep them fed? When do we have them in our, like all the logistics, but then didn't know quite the healing process. And the biggest struggle for me was it felt like I was going through a breakup with my OB because, you know, when you're a high risk pregnancy, you're in there constantly, twice, 3 times a week, all the time. And then they hand you the babies and there's, see you in 6 weeks. What do I do? What do I do with this? Still healing. I don't know. I need to sleep, but these babies are sleeping. Like now is when I need the help. Now is when I need someone guiding me through this process. And I didn't research enough, probably should have had a night nanny at some point. Probably should have had a night nurse coming in. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I also, with our first set of twins, pretty significantly had undiagnosed postpartum depression. And that was my biggest regret. It wasn't until probably about 8 months when the boys were 8 months old that I was like coming out of it. And I'm like, oh, That's what that was. Like I started feeling like myself again. And then immediately you feel this, and I felt this immense, horrible guilt of I wasn't the mom I wanted to be, or I could have been. And so then it was this pledge to myself of, if that ever, I just thought I was on survival mode. You got 2 babies, you're trying to figure it out. This is what new parenthood was. This is what new parenthood is. And didn't really figure out until after I came out of it and talking with, building up my community and talking to friends and people going, yeah, that's not normal. That's not how postpartum should look. That isn't how postpartum should feel.
What were the things specifically? Like when you say this wasn't what it was like, right? Because honestly, Kara, I'm with you. Like I am sitting right next to you on that struggle bus. Like the same thing. I did not know. I just figured that everybody that had twins was just losing it, was miserable. And what were the signs for you? And when you were talking to your friends, what were those conversations like where they were like, Kara, that's not it?
Yeah. For me, it was constant frustration, irritation, and agitation. So I probably had a touch of, well, it was never diagnosed with the first set. Second set around, I knew enough to go in and advocate for myself a little bit better. But was that, like, I don't want to say rage, a little bit-ish. Probably had a touch of postpartum rage, but some of that, like, just super short threshold of things that normally me knowing myself, how I cope with things and how I deal with things. My threshold was so much shorter. So I was snappier with my husband, snappier with my spouse, snappier with, my support system, my parents coming in. And then with the second set of twins, where I knew immediately of what, because I told my husband, like, you have to be watching me in terms of if you're noticing something's off, because he didn't know either. That first set around, we all just thought this is how it is. This is how we cope. This is how we deal with 2 newborns at once. And during a night feeding, he was feeding one, I was feeding the other. It was like at 2 a.m. And our daughter was extra fussy that night. And I just had this visceral reaction of, I had to put her down. And I was like, I need to get as far away from this baby as I can. It wasn't like I don't love her. It wasn't that I couldn't, it wasn't like there was anything like that. It was like, I just can't cope. I need to put this baby down and I have to walk away and regroup. And I just and that was my sign to myself. That's not how I cope. That's not my typical coping. That's not how I dealt with the first time at times. For me, it was when my threshold of being able to deal with situations was so much shorter.
Yeah.
Is when that was the sign for me of, this isn't me. This isn't who I am. And I would seclude probably, when they say get your village.
Yeah.
But it was hard for me I wanted to isolate.
Yeah.
And just, wrap these babies around me, just me, these babies, and let's cocoon in.
How did your family deal with that? I know that is fairly common, right? We don't know that it's as common as it is and that something could be done about it. But how did your mom react? And how did your partner react? And were they just, this is her process, let's leave her be, how did they handle that?
I don't know if any of us really truly, we were all just trying to rally together to make sure we're getting on a routine. And I was asking the questions, and I think sometimes things get justified of, it's just hormones. And that's how I justified it to myself. Your hormones are balancing. It takes time. Adjusting back to normal takes time. And my husband, he was in the trenches with it with me. I mean, he's extreme, we are very 50-50. He's doing all the things with me. He was working at home while I was on maternity leave. He was doing all the feedings with us. And so we were in the trenches together, just trying to grapple and figure it out. So for both of us, it was just, this is us trying to figure out what our new normal is.
So when you spoke to your friends, though, and that you knew something was wrong, did you do anything about it? Because it's one thing to know that something is up. It's another thing to act and try to make it better.
The second time around, yes. The first time around, no. The first time around, I was in such denial, didn't want to allow myself to think that I had postpartum depression. I am stronger, the mentality that I am stronger than postpartum depression. I don't have that. I won't have that. I had this horrible mindset that I don't need help. I will be fine. I will get through this. And it wasn't until I came out of it that I was I was in denial. That's what I had until I was could see a shift coming out of it, that I was like, oh my God, what was I doing? I can't do that again. And so when we found out we were having twins twice, the second time around, that was my biggest fear. It was like, I can't do newborn stage again. I had such this fear of, I can't go back to that place where I was. It wasn't, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with 4 kids? We've done it once. We could figure out the logistics of doing it again. It was, I can't go back there.
Yeah.
I can't go back to that place. I can't do that. I can't put our relationship of our marriage through that again. I can't put myself through, I can't do that to my people. You know, how am I going to deal with that with toddlers, 2-year-olds too? And so that was my biggest fear. But that second time around, I knew enough to cue in my people.
Okay.
Cue in my husband, if here's the signs, cue in my parents. I need you really advocating for me. If you're noticing anything's off, cueing off friends. And that second time around, right after we had our second set of twins, I actually found mom who has triplets at same age as our oldest stepdaughter, who literally lives right up further road from us. And she has been, I relate more, I feel like, to triplet parents sometimes than I do twin parents. And she has been such a huge advocate in terms of, Kara, look for this. Kara, she was the one that after my second set, I was like, go to physical therapy. You have diastasis. Get in there. I did it. I feel better. Go do the thing. Take care of yourself. And so just cueing in those people and finding those people and surrounding myself with them, I was way more intentional the second time around.
Did you let your doctors know ahead of time when you were the second time around? So you didn't even clue them in?
Should have, and I didn't. I should have, and I didn't, because I think that even within the pregnancy a little bit was thinking like in denial a little bit.
Well, it's hopeful. It's not even a denial. It's you're like, please, lightning can strike twice.
Yeah. Right. And I should have done that. I didn't do that. But the minute my OB office was great. When the minute I called, it was like, I need to get in. I think I'm struggling with postpartum depression. Things aren't going back to how I feel like I should be feeling. They were able to get me in within hours. Good. Because it was that morning I called it right when their phones opened at 7:30, and they got me in 2 hours later, and they were able to prioritize it, knowing. I mean, not all doctor's office you kind of become a rarity when you're the parent with 2 sets of twins.
Oh, yeah. They know who you are. Oh, it's Kara.
But we know you.
I saw your number coming up. We're so happy.
We go to urgent care and they bump us at the top list. Oh, they're in again. They're busy. Let's get into the top. Let's get them in.
So for a mom that may be recognizing that something is off, but just assuming that it's regular twin life, how do you think a regular person, right? And I'll use that term loosely because none of us are pretty difficult. But what do you think a mom could ask herself to say, okay, this is normal, this is not. This is normal, this is not. How could somebody distinguish that? So the first time around, like, what are some questions you think that if you asked yourself that you might have had an answer to that might have been a little enlightening?
Right. With me, I should have been asking myself the question of, is this how I would typically respond to a situation prior to children? Is this how I would be coping? Because after I just felt like a completely different person the minute I gave birth. My hormones were wacky. My body was different. I felt very much not myself. Like I wasn't the same person. And so that was a cue. I just didn't feel pre-baby me and post-baby me they felt like completely different human beings. And I think that was a cue. If you're feeling completely out of sorts of not being yourself. The second one, for me was, is this how I would typically cope with these situations? My threshold was lower. There was one time my husband and I, when you have twins, many of your conversations are logistics, right?
Of course.
Who's doing what and who's picking this up and who's going here and who's getting this kid and who's feeding who. And so it was a conversation around that of who's doing what logistics. And I just blew my top, like just lost it. And going at one point where I threw my phone on the ground and I shattered my screen. And I am not a rager. If ever we have a discussion or something, I'm a walk awayer. And I'm like, whoa, that is not how I respond in those situations. That's not who I am. And that was a cue to me of, something is not right. That is not how I respond in conflict. That's not how I respond in challenging situations. So when those things shift, I think is the biggest question of, is this how I typically or have typically responded in said situations? At least how I experienced postpartum depression. And I think there was a lot of anxiety in there too. That I feel like is a good question to be asking. Is this atypical from how I would normally or typically project that I or think that I would cope with this?
Yeah. I remember meeting somebody and saying to them, I wish you would have known me before I had kids.
Yes.
And so I didn't even realize. I mean, I think that might have been that week, but I met somebody new and I remember saying that you're like, I feel bad that you know this version of me. Never even like really thinking about that there were two versions of me.
Yes.
And that one was like the carefree, free spirit, happy life of the party. And now there's this like warden of like criminals. Like, it was so different. And I said, like, that's a big tell. And the thing is, it doesn't only happen during the postpartum period. It could sneak up when the 20s are 3. It could sneak up when the 20s are 10, when your 20s are 16. It does not matter. If at any time you feel like something is off and you were a better version of yourself a little bit ago, it's a little bit of a stop and think kind of moment.
Mm-hmm.
So did your family, like you said, I gave my family a heads up, like you have to look out for me. Did they do that? And were they over the top? Because then, Kara, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because if you give your family a heads up, then they treat you like with kid gloves and that you're this little fragile egg. So how did your family handle it, knowing that they needed to be on high alert and look for things? If they noticed anything, did they actually say something to you? Did they write you a note? Did you give them instructions on how to communicate with you? How was it different since they were on high alert?
I never felt like I was being like treated as if I were breakable, right? Or delicate. I never felt that. I felt more surrounding in terms of more presence, being really listening to things I'm saying or how I'm coping or how I'm dealing with things. More so them looking and observing. I never felt as if I was being sheltered or like hawk watched. But I also think I was paranoid too, that the minute I felt something off, so they might not have recognized it. I think my husband recognized it in that moment. We were both sitting there and I'm like, oh, get this baby away from me. And he's, well, okay, let's call the doctor. Like at that moment, we were both like, yeah, okay, we need to figure something out. This is our sign. This is the moment where you didn't call before and you need to call now. And that was for me a very, very hard moment in the sense of, one, I didn't want to experience that again, but like kind of that refreshing feeling of, okay, I am doing it different this time. And I'm going to do what is best for me and for these babies. And I'm not going to allow my pride to get in the way of this. And so there were tears and there were like more so of, I felt like I was becoming a better advocate for me. But I think we were both, my husband and I, since it was in the middle of the night feeding, him and I were both looking at each other. Okay, yeah, we were in very much agreement. Like, this is our moment. This is the time where we're going to shift it and we're going to make this different. And that made a huge impact.
Good. It's such a scary thing to go through, just having 20s, right? Let's just be honest. There's nobody that was like, oh, it was a breeze. That was it. It was a great pregnancy.
So easy.
Even if it was an easy pregnancy and even if it was an easy delivery, it's still significantly more challenging than a singleton, right? Just the volume of humans that are trying to eat us from the inside out is a lot. So I think that twin parents in general, we kind of get used to being the punching bag. Yes. And then by the time that you have your babies, you're so used to, well, I shouldn't say this for everybody, right? So for those of you that are listening, either you know, right? As they say. So if you had a hard time getting pregnant, you already were being kicked. If you had a difficult pregnancy, you're already being kicked. Then you have a hard delivery, you're already down. By the time the babies come here, you are so used to just living on the floor that it is so hard to realize how other humans live.
Absolutely. And you become almost akin to it, that you just accept it. And that's where I tried to fight through on the second set of like going, it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have, you get used to putting yourself absolutely last because you're just trying, got to make sure the kids are all fed. What's our wake windows look like? Who is eating how much when? Who pooped today? Who didn't poop today? Do I need to be worried about that? What do I do if they don't poop? Like all of these things are going through your head, never thinking about yourself. And so that is where I have become like, for me, it's like that idea of see you in 6 weeks was such a hard thing for me to handle and grapple with, because it's that idea of you'll be fine. Everything's fine. You've had your babies. Everything's good to go. And that sense of you have to advocate. Unfortunately, we have to advocate to such an extreme. No one in a medical office is asking me, besides filling out a questionnaire where you can lie through your teeth on, which I did because I didn't want to admit that I had postpartum depression.
High five through the screen. I'm with you. That's it.
Right?
We did it. We're two jerks right here.
We did it because I wanted to be, yay, everything's fine.
I wanted to pass the test.
No one's truly asking, but how are you? Not, okay, 6 weeks, you can have sex now. Like, that's not, I had 2 kids at home. Like, we're just trying to survive from the day. Like, we're just trying to make sure everyone eats, sleeps, and poops. All of us, we're not worried about that. I need more. And so that idea of, you have to advocate. It took me a while to get to the point of, no, there is something wrong. Yeah. I don't feel right. I need an appointment now. Yeah. And if that doesn't feel right, switch offices, find someone else. If you're getting that runaround of, you're fine. We don't need to worry about that.
I had a little light bulb moment just now. May I share with you?
Absolutely.
I have come to the conclusion. Well, I always know that Americans are failing in a lot of things, and postpartum care, top of the list, right?
Horrible.
Top of the list. We know this pregnancy, newborn, blah, blah, blah. We all know this. And for all of you, if anybody, literally anybody out there wants to come on this podcast and debate that, literally community@twiniversity.com. Feel free to message us. I would love to have an online debate with you if you feel that our country is winning. Okay, so here's the thing. Most other countries do not have a 6-week follow-up. Most other countries have a 3-day follow-up, a 7-day follow-up, a 10-day follow-up. And usually it is done by either a nurse midwife, it is done by a lactation professional, it is done by some other postpartum support professional. And Kara, this minute, just now, I have realized that, yes, we should advocate for ourselves, but
we shouldn't
have jerks sitting right here, and I'm not calling you a jerk on purpose, but I am saying that we didn't know better. So how could we advocate for ourselves when we were two people that just were used to living in the bottom of the barrel?
Yeah, and so it took me a long time.
But then, Kara, what BS is this? We put the onus back on us. And we let's just have a moment here. I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way, but we're always saying we have to look out for us. No, you don't. No, you don't have to look out for you. You cannot look out for yourself. Heal from a delivery, heal from a pregnancy where literally your organs were displaced in your body. You had you had 3 brains that were trying to function, 3 hearts that were trying to function. And then we have to literally get on a soapbox for ourselves to say, hey, look at me. And then when that happens, we feel like the pick me girl, right? So we're like, oh my God, don't pay attention to me. I'm fine. Everything's fine. And it's literally the dumpsters behind us. So while we feel bad about not doing things, I'm going to say right now, I feel even worse because nobody else is looking out for us.
No.
WTF,
no,
man.
And that's seriously the problem. My friend who has the triplets was sharing with me. She goes, Kara, other countries, when you give birth, you go to postpartum, you go and have physical therapy. Your insurance will cover it. Go do it. I did it. Here's the person I went to. It was fantastic. Take care of yourself. You have to prioritize yourself. And I wouldn't have done it had I just not happen to have an off-the-cuff conversation with my friend about my abs, not like I have back pain, I got neck pain, I got all the things because I have no core strength, right? And she's saying, go take care of yourself. You are a priority. If I didn't have, who is the twin mom out there who doesn't have that person in their corner or having that random conversation with someone saying, go do it?
Yes.
We shouldn't have to rally from the ground up.
Nope.
To advocate for ourselves, to say, this is something I need to be a better version of myself, to carry my kids and not be in pain, to be able to recover from a C-section and try and keep 2 tiny beings alive. There's no, like even when you go, when they ask out on questionnaires, what surgeries have you had? Have you had your appendix removed? Have you ever seen one that says C-section?
Right.
I haven't. Like
that has been something that I've been talking about in Twiniversity classes for 15 years. And I say, you guys have to remember when they say prior surgeries, you always have to put down C-section because that is major abdominal surgery. And so your healthcare professionals always need to know your medical history, but we forget. We're just like, oh, it was delivery. That doesn't count.
I gave
birth. It was major abdominal surgery. If your grandmother had anything close to that, even with just the incision, she would go home with a visiting nurse, a home attendant. Everything would happen. And we're like, oh, go home. And if it smells or if it starts oozing, give us a call.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine.
Crazy are we?
Is it? Is it fine? Because things don't feel fine here.
Crazy.
You're
Kara,
fine.
I don't know why
it's okay.
I'm just thinking about it like this time for the first time, but for so long, once again, in classic women fashion, we'll take that responsibility.
Yeah.
And we'll take care of us. We'll take care of the kids. Maybe we'll try to remember that we have to be a good sister, daughter, wife, cousin, community member. Maybe we'll get to that. But it's so interesting that we do this to ourselves. So yeah, maybe that's what this conversation is literally. How the heck do we change things so that people could have more postpartum support? And like you said, for your family, the second time around, hey, heads up, this is what's going to happen. That should be the first time around, technically. And you shouldn't have even been the one that had to say that. Your husband should have been schooled on that at the OB's office.
Yeah, because I'm not trained in postpartum care to know what to tip him on or what to look for. Or I can say, here's how I think. Like, we don't know.
No.
And just that idea. And I think too, these are the things that keep me up at night, things I think about as moms, as I constantly get, as I work full time, I have 4 kids, 4 and under, right? Like that. Oh, you always seem to have it all together. Or, oh, I don't know how you do it all. Well, that person, like that just ingrains in that idea of that I have to. And what does it look like if I don't? What does me not having it together look like? Because we harbor this of I have to show up and be a good coworker. I have to show up and be a good mom. I have to be a good spouse. I have to be a good friend. And then at what point do we ever say, I have to be good for myself?
Never.
We never say that. And so it's
that's age and wisdom come with that. And then there's something to this new generation that like my kids are in that is like me time, whatever. And then I'm like, me time, get a job. Like I think
who needs that? Yeah.
Who does that? But now
I'm like, this me time thing you speak of.
Yes. But now I'm like, my daughter's actually winning. My daughter is actually significantly healthier mentally.
Mental health is going to be great.
I can't believe this. I have to tell, not that my daughter is going to quit her job because I'll kill her, but she's right. Like she's so good about boundaries, but I think it's because we got the kids mental health support because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so weirdly, my kids were right in this little section that I was like, okay, listen, this is not normal. Nothing's normal about this. I really enjoy the pandemic, for the record. I was like, what? I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to ever wear pants. I'm like, this is the jam. Yes. Twiniversity even thrived because we were so used to teaching to like the bed rest crew that we just slipped right into the quarantine crew. We were like, what? Yeah, we can move all our classes online, no biggie. And we kind of just stayed there. Although, Kara, I miss humans really badly. But I think that's why I work in lactation now on a regular basis, because I just needed to see tiny humans.
Human interaction.
But it made me think that as a lactation consultant, right, as my fancy IBCLC, which I still can't believe that I passed that test, even though it was a while ago, I'm still shocked. But I think that's the next line of defense, because I see now how much I recognize when moms are not typical. And I'll say like something's off, even though I don't know that person, you could just sense it. And then you're like, hey. And so usually I have a conversation with their partner and say, hey, like I always say, like, what's the emergency contact, and give me that information. But I think that it's important that if there was a takeaway, right, of what people are going to take away from this episode, what do you think those should be? the things that you did the second time around. So there's a mom listening. She's driving in her car. Maybe she's going to pick up some delicious Chipotle. I don't know. That's what I'm dying for today. And she's like, hey, okay, I'm 34 weeks pregnant. I am, I'm already overstressed. What are things that person could do? Because once again, we still have to take care of ourselves every single moment of the day. How could that person get more prepared so that if the tornado strikes, there is a plan A, B, C, and D, and we know how to hide in the basement?
Yeah. For me, I'm thinking through one, I've talked about like rallying those people, but also knowing what I should have done is talk to my doctor and say, hey, I need you to also, if I'm in here and you notice things seem off, you need to tell me, because again, you don't know how it's going to manifest in you either. Am I going to have postpartum depression? Is it going to be anxiety? Is it going to be rage? Is it going to be all three? You don't necessarily know what it's going to look like, but that idea of when things, one, having the people, a beautiful idea is just writing down to yourself what you envision that postpartum experience looking like for you. And when you feel like, now you don't know until you're in it, right? Mm-hmm. Like what postpartum will be. But that idea of here's how I feel I will cope in said situations. Here's how I plan on dealing with night feedings. Here's how I plan, night feedings were our biggest trigger. So that's why that one comes up. But here's how I plan on dealing with weird sleep schedules and creating those schedules of people too around you for me, it was my parents were a huge support for me, that I could call up my mom and be like, Mom, I need you here today. Today is a tough day. She knew if Kara calls, and she stayed with us for a little bit, but then they lived nearby, that I could just call at any moment and she would be over, right? So having your people, having those numbers right there, being able to identify what you feel, write down what you feel in terms of how you're postpartum.
Yeah.
You feel like you cope with situations in terms of postpartum. And maybe writing a promise to yourself of, if I feel like this, I will do this. I should have done that. I should have said, but I didn't. I was trying to just get through insulin shots and gestational diabetes, and let's just get these babies out of me, right? And not thinking about the after fact. So I think taking the time to think about, when I bring these babies home, what will this look like? Yes, I know there will be time that I need to adjust. My hormones need to balance out, but what will this, like that visualizing, not where the babies will sleep, not where, really thinking, do I have my nursery ready? Not that, but what does the day-to-day routine structures look like? And how will I know if it's not how will I know when it's not right?
I love that. I think that's a really just like making your basic quality of life. Like, this is the minimum that I'd like. If you see that I'm not showering, if you see that I'm not eating, right? There's obvious ones. And then if you see that I am not scrolling TikTok for, 15 minutes, like that would be a sign that something is wrong. I'm out of my regular routine. So, and what do you think is the most effective way for a family to communicate with that person that might be struggling?
For me, I think too, as that is something to talk to your people about. If you notice, like, everyone approaches and deals with, it shouldn't be confrontational, but deals with those types of conversations differently. Do I want you to, if it comes to that point, how do I want you to talk to me about this? Do I want you to come out point blank and say, Kara, you've got a problem, we're going to the doctor? Do I need someone to say, hey, I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to make the call for you right now, and I'm going to schedule an appointment for you, because here's what I will go with you. We will do the things. I think you yourself, as a 35-week pregnant with twins mom, is identifying, what do I feel? How do I want someone to talk to me or talk me through this, or be there for me if and when this situation comes up, and being able to communicate to that people. And I'm a very point, like I told them, if you notice anything, just call me out on it. Tell me you're saying, woo, Kara, things are weird. Let's go. And that is how I knew, that was fine with me. The more blunt with me, the better. And so that was a perfect way for me to cope and go, oh yeah, if he's saying something's off, but knowing yourself and knowing and talking to those people, if you notice this, here's how I need you to tell me.
Yeah. it's important that we all know how to speak to each other in a way that we don't feel judged too. So
Yeah.
like it's important that your partner knows. Like I think that we assume a lot of things about our partners, especially if you're together for a long time and have been through hell and back. There's still a little, they don't know how to poke the bear. So they're also a little scared. They're very intimidated. They're also just were handed two babies. So it's a lot for everybody. So it's good that if you say, this is how I think you should deal with it, you could say to your partner and say, hey, like, I think that this is probably like the first line of defense is maybe giving me like a little clue to be like something, maybe asking me certain questions. And for those of you that are listening, everybody needs to remember we are not mental health professionals, right? We're just people who've unfortunately been through way more than most. And that is why we are sitting in these chairs that we are today. But it's important that you give your team and your village the tools that they need to help you, because it's one thing to say, listen, you got to look out for this. It's another thing to say, okay, once you see that, here's what's going to happen next, because it's almost not fair. And we're just like, when you see that things are getting bad,
it puts it back on you.
Yes, again.
To deal with it, right? Like you were saying before.
Again.
Okay, you can tell me the thing, but then is it on me to do the thing? Like, I know, honey, I need you to call and I need you to make this. I am not in a place where I can do this right now. You know what I mean? Like you think about, if I have a knee surgery, I have a physical therapy scheduled right away for my torn ACL. I've got to follow up in 2 weeks. I got someone checking in on me. Like you're in a brace, you're doing all the things. You get more support and check-ins from a knee surgery
100%.
Than when you have two beans pulled out of your body, right?
A million %. What is wrong with us? Oh my God. I really hope that somebody actually messages me. I would love that. Only because my inner rage currently is ready to strike, because I've just realized we're just flying solo. So Lauren Oak, who does the intros with me for the podcast, also runs our monthly support group, also does our sleep stuff. We envision all the time. And we always joke, if we won like big money in the lotto, truthfully, the thing that we would do is we want to start a motherhood center. And envision this. And for anybody who steals this idea, I'm down, because there should be a million of these. Picture we work, but for women that are postpartum. So we all have our offices, right? I'm doing air quotes for the word offices, whereas like your cubby. And we have communal spaces. We have mental health support professionals. We have people to help you just balance your checkbook if you need to, like the heavy lifting stuff. We have a mental health professional. We have a medical doctor, right? So we have kind of like this village, and it's not only for postpartum, it's for as long as whatever you need the support for.
Yes.
But the thing is that exists in other countries. They're literally called motherhood centers. And you could drop in as often as you want. It's free. It's covered by your, socialized medicine. So once again, after we win our Mega Millions, we'll have stuff to do. And Carrie, you're part of my team. You're coming in.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Put me in there.
I tell everybody, I'm like, my dream job, I'm going to quit it all. And I'm going to become a postpartum mama, multiple doula of all the things. Like, I'll do all the things. Just let me be there. Let me help you. Let me hold the baby. Let me feed him at 2 a.m. I'll do all the things.
Yes.
I'll watch out for you. I'm in.
But once again, it's us doing everything. Once again, Kara, we're right back.
It's us ground rootsing it, going, moms helping moms. And which is lovely and wonderful. But we're all moms trying to figure it all out.
Moms get poop done. That's how we roll. We will always look out for each other. We will support each other. And that's truthfully one of the main pillars that holds Twiniversity up, is that before I even started this stupid business, I can't even believe that this is still going, by the way. But like, I literally did it because it was such an isolating thing. And I needed those other parents of multiples in my surroundings. So understand, for all of you that are listening, if you do not know the lore of Twiniversity, it wasn't started because I had dreams of starting a business. It started because I was tired of being alone. And I was like, listen, I'm a nerd.
And thank God you did. Things. Because that was when I found out I was having twins. I'm like, where do I go? What do I do? Because the singleton advice is not the twin. That ain't going to work. That works with one. That don't work with two. What do I do? Where do I go? And so thank God, thank you for your book, because it plugged me in to the people, right? You find the people, and doesn't matter if they live across the country. Thank God for social media to be able to help connect
across the world. Kara, believe it or not, we have a huge fan base in the Middle East. And we get translated. We get translated into over 100 languages a day, our website. We are visited by, I think, 76 countries yesterday. So unreal. We just need to know you are not alone. You are not suffering in silence. I mean, if you're suffering in silence, that's on you, but we're trying to put more tools in your toolbox, just the way that my kids learned during the pandemic. We're going to learn it, but in this really wacky kind of way. And so Mom's Kara.
Because we got to do it. The mom's got to do it.
That's it. We have no choice. We have to keep looking out for ourselves because this is just our life. But on the bright side, it's such a good part of life because then I got to meet you, Kara, and I get to meet these other people. And then I still 16 years later, still feel so connected. And I still continuously find my people, whether it's through a podcast, whether I'm sitting on a bus and weirdly somebody sees a Twiniversity sticker on my bag, the impact that we have made. And I do say we, because Twiniversity, we've never spent a nickel in advertising. Twiniversity is a grassroots movement that was just us being fed up. That was it.
Yeah.
And it's only
too late to start
now. That's it.
Yeah.
That's literally should be tattooed across maybe my abdomen, like very like gang style. Should be, it's only, well, I have enough stomach to actually write all of that out in very big, giant block letters. So that's a plus side of being fluffier than most. Right. But Kara, thank you so much for playing with me today. Sincerely. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. I
wish to say, I never heard about that. People have postpartum mood disorders. What's that? I never heard of it. Right?
Tell me more. What is this?
That's my next time coming around. I'm going to be like, what? Everybody isn't happy? There isn't rainbows and unicorns all the time? What
is this world? That's not the postpartum I experienced.
No, I was in this fiery pit where I just thought everybody was on fire with me. I just thought that was common.
Good friends just had a baby. And she's, I just been sitting in bed holding my baby. Just my husband brings me all the things. And I'm like, what is this postpartum world? Because that is not what my maternity leave looked like.
That's different. That's not what we had. Well, maybe for your third set, maybe that's going to be the one.
No, we don't need 5 and 6.
You never know. If you guys did not get fixed in that household, there is always a chance for a 3.
There's always a chance.
And we do have moms who have 3 sets. So don't think that doesn't happen.
It's doable. If we can do 2 sets, we can do 3.
And you got your big top 10 circus of a car. So squeeze 2 more in there. You'll be fine.
It'll be fine. It always works out, right? It'll be fine.
Oh, Kara, I love you already. And I'm so happy that we got to play together today. And for those of you that are listening, if you have a story like Kara's or you just want to come on and you're like, listen, I could tell somebody to make their lives easier, always message us at community@twiniversity.com or slide into our DMs on any social platform and just be like, hey, I have an idea. This is for us, by us, made for us to have better experiences. So if you have something you want to bring to the table, I am setting the table, but you got to bring the food. That's it. So I encourage everybody, and I pray that somebody wants to debate me on positive maternal care in the United States because I am ready.
Jump on there too.
That's it.
I'll be the keyboard warrior.
All right, kiddos. So thanks for listening. Subscribe, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Until next time, guys. See you later, alligators. Thanks for listening.